Hi, I'm Bill Moseley, and this is the first of my series, The Art of Analogue, in which we're going to look at how in the world of, or the digital world of zeros and ones, where everything's predictable and no surprises anymore, no creative, zap moment. People are looking now to the older techniques of analogue, where everything's unpredictable. You never really know what's going to happen through the imprecision of the technique. And I'm making it in this town called Hill End, central west New South Wales, which was made famous in the 1871 gold rush. Now, what made it famous was the discovery of the world's biggest nugget by a guy called Bernard Otto Holtermann. And he used that money to finance a guy called Beaufoy Merlin to travel around the central west New South Wales gold mining towns with his wet plate photography technique. It's a cumbersome bloody thing, but totally analogue. And the results he got are magnificent. And the collection of glass plates that he made were in the State Library collection. It's known as the Holtermann collection. Not because Holtermann shot it, but Holtermann paid for it. So that technique is a wonderful thing we're going to look at. We're going to look at a few other things too in the world of analogue, of printmaking, the imprecision, the magic of, you never really know what you're going to get. Fantastic. It's a classic example of analogue photography. It's from a collodion negative, and it shows the American and Australian Photographic Company in 1872 that operated on this site. And the photograph was taken by Beaufoy Merlin. Now, who was financed by that wealthy guy, Holtermann? Merlin and his assistant here, Charles Bayliss, they travelled all around western New South Wales, documenting all of these goldfields societies in the 1870s, and they shot it all on glass plate by the collodion, or wet plate collodion photograph process. The process itself was discovered by a guy called Frederick Scott Archer in 1851. By 1870, this was the way to take a photograph all around the world, and it's the archetypal analogue photograph. So let's go and have a look and see how the process is done. So the wet plate photography technique involves having a certain amount of paraphernalia. To begin with, you're going to need a camera. Second thing, you're going to need a darkroom, because the whole process of wet plate involves keeping the plate wet. It loses its sensitivity as it dries out. So if you look at some of those old photos there by Merlin and Bayliss, in the background you'll see a horse-drawn cart. You won't see a hydroponic tent, you'll see a horse-drawn cart. But we've got this tent here, which is kind of convenient, 21st century. And that has to be accessible to where you're working. I'm not going to work in here this time, just to show you. When we do some real photography, we'll use another darkroom, just for ease of making the video. But we can have a look at the materials. Now what we're going to need here is some trays for water and the fixer. We're going to need some collodion, which is basically cotton dissolved in nitric acid, ether, a few other things there. Not that dangerous, except it is a bit explosive, and the ether might make you pass out. Never mind, we won't pass out. So that's a collodion, like a little bit of imitation collodion there. This is our developer, which is ferrous sulfate, quite harmless. We've got regular fixer here, which is modern fixer, which does work okay, but what Beaufoy Merlin would have used and Bayliss was potassium cyanide. Pretty nasty. Merlin did die young, but I'm not too sure what from. Anyway, show you the process. Oh, the other thing is silver nitrate. The collodion absorbs the silver nitrate, makes a sensitive plate. Taking our plate, in the time-honoured method, we take our collodion mix here, pour it onto the corner. Artfully, we roll this round the plate so it doesn't come back on itself and leave a ridge which will show up in the image. Then tip it back into our little glass. That's all finished. Take our collodion coated plate, Goes into the silver nitrate light tight box. Got a little slide there, drops in. In it goes for 3 minutes. 3 minutes in there. When we open it, we've got to open it under the safe light, a red light. If we're using a dark room like this, a good way to do it is have those little headlight things with a red light in it. It's great, you can work in there. But we'll work in the other dark room later. Anyway, 3 minutes, plate comes out. We take our plate holder, carefully drop our plate in there, locks in, we close that. We go to our camera, which we have set up in focus, everything worked out, because you don't want to mess around. You've got 15 minutes, don't forget. Plate holder goes in. Don't forget to pull the slide. Cable release, click, take the photo. Slide comes out. Off to the darkroom, see what we got. What we have here at this stage, of course, is nothing, because we haven't properly coated the plate yet, so we'll open the dark side and put it here. All this can be done under room light at this stage. Silver nitrate, collodion, that's the developer. Collodion goes on, as I demonstrated before. We just gently, carefully put it into the centre of the plate like so. Make sure we've got plenty on there. Roll it round. And off it goes, back into the bottle. That's it, we just tuck that down so we don't get a great ridge of collodion along the bottom. This then goes into our silver nitrate. And close that. Set the timer for, what we're going to do, 3 minutes. After that, we're going to have to turn the room lights off, the white light goes off, we open it under the safe light. 3 minutes are up, so open the nitrate box, we take out the slide out, and you see now it's got this milky colour because it's absorbed the silver into the collodion. We'll just wipe the excess nitrate off the back, save us contaminating the slide too much. Okay, all good. Take our slide, we'll pop that in, close the slide, head off to the camera, take the shot. Now we've got the slide properly loaded, we come over here to where Nicole's been sitting patiently waiting for me to stop messing around in the darkroom. And we'll go and shoot it, put it in the camera, which is all pre-set up, pre-focused. All we've got to do is put the slide in like so. Don't forget to pull the slide. We've got this all set up here with this little rubber bulb thing here. And we'll shoot, and I think it's going to be about 3 seconds. See if I'm wrong. That's it. Don't forget to shut that. This time we'll get a result. Back into the dark room. Open the slide. Now we've got the exposed sheet here. We'll carefully take that out. Put that aside. Development now, it's going to be 15 seconds in this ferrous sulfate solution, so I just set this timer, 15 seconds, And if you watch this, we're just going to pour this gently over the plate, not dumping it all in the one spot. It'll sit there like a big bubble over the exposed emulsion. Now maybe you can see that. There's the image coming up. 15 seconds. We're going to dump that straight into the water there. Turn that off. Straight into the water. We'll do that a couple of bars. We're going to keep that going. See the image there in negative? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Keep washing it until it doesn't look greasy in the middle. Just change the water. Once it gets that greasy look off the image, it's still there, it's still sort of repelling the water. Right, put it in the fresh one. Once that's got that greasy look off there, there's our image. And actually, even though it's just been treated in water, we can have the lights on. One of the funny things is, there's the negative. Now we're going to put that straight into the fixer, and you might see that now. It's kind of going black. What it is, it's reversing. We had a negative, and now it's turning into a positive. Kind of. Hope it does. Yes. Yes, there she is. Can you all see that? Whoop. We'll let that fix. Looks a bit light there, but anyway, there's the image. Well, the fog is gone, cleared and fixed, so out of the fixer into the wash, and there we have it, wet plate collodion tintype in this case. Those images that were shot by Beaufort and Merlin were on glass plates there, so they could use them as a negative and print them. This is a negative, but it's on black coated aluminium, referred to as a tintype. And what happens, it reverses against the black, so you get an image that looks like a positive. So that's it. That's the very much analog, the 1851 process. So we just got to wash that, like I said, about 4 or 5 minutes there. And that's it. Out of the darkroom. Well, now we have the result here, all dried and varnished. Go down here to the Hill End Gallery and see NIcole, see what she thinks. See what she thinks about the analogue process, because she's a digital worker mostly, but I think there's approaches to her work there which are purely analogue, so let's find out what she thinks. This is a piece from NIcole Welch's series Illuminations. In making the work, NIcole has opted for an analogue approach, preferring to take on-site risks rather than simply superimpose a studio chandelier photograph.
Yeah, I think this is great. I love it. There's something about analogue and the process that captures, in essence, that you don't necessarily get with digital. And I think analogue is a process that, even though my finished product is digital, with this film work and also my photographic work, the process of going into the landscape and allowing the environment to dictate the image is a really analogue process. So in the Illumination series, here comes a kangaroo, and that can't be scripted. And a digital process might be to edit that kangaroo out. But for me, to really capture the essence of the environment that I'm recording, I leave all of those I mean, that's a fantastic accident. But there are other accidents that aren't so fantastic, like this storm coming through. And this was 7 hours of footage, taking a photograph every several seconds over 7 hours. And so I was hoping this storm wouldn't come through, but it did. And so that required an adjustment for me, allowing the analogue process of the environment and its participation in my work. If you talk about participatory work, for me it's the environment, because I can't script it. And I stay true to it, and I really aim in my work to go with it rather than edit it out. I think when we think about analogue, it's great to expand our idea of what that is. It's not necessarily the technology that you use, it can be the process that you engage with. And the beauty of the time that we're in, Bill, is that we can mix it, and we have, you know, the best of both worlds. And you know, thank you for you know, taking the time
Thank you,
to
NIcole.
ask me about my process, because I equally am fascinated by yours.
Sometimes the organic nature of analogue and the certainty and lineality of digital combine together. Back in the past, somebody has combined the two into this strange artefact here, where he's got a wooden fence post, and it's as if he's said to himself, I'm sick of this analogue world, I want some certainty, I want lineal, I want bricks. I haven't got any bricks. At this point he gets out his analogue chisel and carves the whole thing into a brick column. That's the wonder of it all, the combination, the unexpected. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching the first part of our series, The Art of Analogue. And if you did, please like, and don't forget to subscribe also if you wish to be kept informed about forthcoming editions of our Art of Analogue in printmaking, all other things analogue. Don't forget also, go to the website down the bottom there for news on our forthcoming Hill End Analogue Festival, in which case we'll be showcasing mostly photography, Hill End being like part of the birthplace of Australian photography. So, as I said, like, subscribe, and hope to see you in Hill End. Thank you very much.